Travelers expect peace, privacy, maybe a little adventure. But for someone waits on the other side of a hotel door is something else entirely. Tonight, you'll hear 3 real, deeply unsettling stories of haunted hotels and Airbnb stays gone. Horribly wrong stories submitted, whispered about, and in some cases, covered up. Turn off the lights. Make sure your door is locked. Thesis 3 Haunted Hotel and Airbnb Stories. In March 2017, a man named Tyler, 29, took a solo vacation to Arizona. He was a web developer from Seattle who wanted to unplug, hike, and escape his buzzing city life. He found a small Airbnb listing about 40 minutes outside of Sedona, a converted cabin deep in the desert, advertised as a writer's retreat. The listing had a minimalist charm: wooden beams, desert views, solar power, and no Wi-Fi. Just what Tyler wanted. The host, a woman named Leslie, messaged him in a friendly tone but emphasized 2 things. 1. Don't drink the tap water, there were fresh bottles provided. Point 2. Don't open the padlocked hatch in the main room's floor. It was for maintenance access only. Tyler arrived just before dusk. The sun was a molten disk sinking behind Red Rock Canyons. The desert wind had a strange hum to it, but the place looked peaceful. It was silent. Still, almost too still. He unpacked, opened a beer, and sat on the tiny front porch. As the night grew darker, a feeling crept in that the stars here were too many, too bright, almost watching. That night, he noticed the trapdoor. It was dead center in the floor, with a large brass ring and a heavy padlock, slightly rusted. The wood around it was newer than the rest of the floor, recently replaced. It didn't match. Curious, Tyler tapped on it. Hollow, a large space beneath. He tried not to let it bother him. But as he tried to fall asleep in the lofted bed above, he thought he heard something. A faint thump beneath the floor. He told himself it was pipes, or the old wood settling. But the sound happened again. And again. By the 3rd day, the sounds were clearer, rhythmic scratching, like fingers or claws dragging slowly against wood. Always late at night, always beneath the trapdoor. Tyler tried to message Leslie. No signal. His phone would freeze. Every time he opened the Airbnb app. Even stranger, when he opened the notes section to write down what was happening, the phone auto-corrected words strangely. Lock became look. Noise became voice. Then the hatch began to smell. A thick, coppery odor, like meat left out too long in the sun. It would drift up around 2 a.m., linger until dawn. One night, he woke to find the padlock lying beside the hatch. Still intact, still locked, but not on the hatch anymore. That he left the next morning. Drove to a gas station and didn't stop until Phoenix. When he contacted Airbnb support to report the incident, the listing was already removed. Leslie's profile was gone. No record of the address. No trace it ever existed. But Tyler still dreams of the scratching. And sometimes, he swears he hears it now beneath the floor of his apartment. Cassandra and her boyfriend Jared took a trip to New Orleans in 2019. Both were history buffs, into ghost tours, old buildings, and classic architecture. They booked a room in an old French quarter hotel built in the 1850s, ornate, creaky, and elegant. Room 217. The front desk clerk hesitated when she read the room number, then smiled a little too wide and handed over the key. The room itself was beautiful: high ceilings, crown molding, and a fireplace that hadn't been used in decades. But there was one strange thing: no mirrors, not a single one. No bathroom mirror, none on the closet or furniture, just blank walls where it looked like mirrors had once been. That night, as they unpacked, Cassandra jokingly said, "Guess we're vampires." Now, Jared laughed. But later that night, he woke up around 3 a.m. and saw Cassandra standing across the room, facing the wall. She was still, unmoving. He called her name. No answer. She turned and walked back to bed without a word. The next morning, she didn't remember getting up. Later that day, on a ghost tour, the guide mentioned their hotel. When someone asked about room 217, the guide paused. That room. We usually don't talk about it. A woman once threw herself from the second-story balcony there. In 1912, people say she never left. They had to take out all the mirrors. Cassandra's stomach dropped. That night, She tried to brush her hair using the dark TV screen as a makeshift mirror. And in the reflection, for just a second, she saw another face behind hers, that a pale woman in an old-fashioned nightgown, standing directly behind her, eyes hollow. When she spun around, no one was there. They checked out the next morning. 2 weeks later, Cassandra received a photo in her inbox from an unknown sender. It was a still frame from hotel security footage, her and Jared asleep in bed, and a blurry shape standing near the fireplace, watching. Julian was a software consultant from Toronto, sent to Japan in 2022 for a 4-day training seminar. His company booked a room in a modern business hotel in Osaka. It was clean, sterile, efficient. His room key was for the 9th floor. But when the elevator opened, he found himself in a dimly lit hallway with faded carpet and flickering lights. He checked the room number 947, opened the door. Inside was odd. The layout was mirrored from the pictures online. The bed faced the wrong wall. The windows had no view, just black, like the curtains were stuck or boarded up. The TV turned on by itself. Static. He unplugged it. That night, he woke up to loud knocking on his door. He checked, no one there. The hallway was darker than before, but as he turned to go back inside, he saw something. A man, standing perfectly still at the end of the hall, not moving, barely visible. He blinked, and the man was gone. In the morning, Julian went to the front desk to ask about his floor. The clerk frowned. "Sir, we don't have a 9th floor. This hotel goes from 8 to 10. He showed her his key card. It now read 807. He checked his room. His luggage was gone. The bed was different. The curtains now opened to a city view. When he checked out, they had no record of him ever staying in room 947. That room had been sealed off in 2009 after a guest died inside. A Canadian man who jumped from the window, claiming he couldn't escape the man in the hallway. Julian doesn't remember the rest of that trip, but every now and then, he wakes up at 3:47 a.m. to the sound of knocking on a hotel door. He doesn't travel anymore. Hotels are meant to be neutral, a pause between places, a place to reset, to rest. But sometimes they hold memories, echoes, things that can't let go. And once you cross that threshold, you never really know if what's waiting behind the door is part of this world or something older, darker, and watching. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and if your next room has no mirrors or too many, maybe sleep with the light on.